Jai Jinendra. So let us start our session. First we should recite the Namukar mantra as we always do. Om Namo Arihantadam, Namo Siddhadam, Namo Airiyadam, Namo Vajayadam, Namo Loe Savasaudam. Hello, Jai Jinendra, and welcome to all to another interesting session of ancient Jainism. Ancient Jainism is an initiative to spread awareness on Jain history, heritage, archaeology, literature, and various interesting aspects and phases of the Jain world and Jain history. And for this, we regularly organize several lectures which are open to all. And we invite several scholars and we had the pleasure and the honor of hosting eminent scholars like Dr. Hampa Nagrajaya, Dr. M.N.P. Tiwari, and various other scholars, professors, and students from India and outside. And why not? We have this pleasure of hosting Benoy sir again, and this is indeed our great pleasure. But before I give a brief introduction about sir, I would just request everyone to follow our Instagram page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, which I'll share the link on our chat box to get regular updates of our page. And and sir, it's my utmost honor to introduce you because I'm a great fan of yours. I have grown up watching your documentaries, watching your movies, and perhaps this was the thing which especially ignited my passion towards history, towards art. So it's indeed great pleasure to introduce you, sir. Benoy sir, as we all know, is a very renowned filmmaker, art historian, and photographer who is known for his tireless and prolific output of work over the past 48 years. He has taken over 53,000 photographs of Asian monuments and art heritage and made 146 documentaries, which are regularly screened at major cultural institutions worldwide. His photographic exhibitions have been warmly received in 74 countries around the world. From 2001 till 2022, till 2020, I'm sorry, when the last book of records was published, he has held the Limca book record for being the most traveled photographer and art historian. And just to give some idea of his prolific works, his films, including 26 documentaries on the paintings of India, 26 documentaries on the sculpture of India, and 26 documentaries on the spectacular India, have been repetitively telecasted nationally and at various universities and museums in several countries of the world. His essay has been published in National Geographical magazine in 2010, 2008. Even, sir, whenever I teach my students some lecture about history or art, I first show your documentaries to them. And that is something that actually ignites their, even if we teach history, we say, even if I have to teach political history, I would first show your documentaries. And that is something that actually catch their attention. And just to further continue your introduction, his works present a wide and new perspective in understanding the art of India and Asia. He has delivered hundreds of lectures for 246 institutions in 36 countries. He has written several works, but most notably being the Ajanta caves, which is considered a phenomenal resource work both for art historians as well as art connoisseurs. It also includes a very important task of the masterpieces of Ajanta. Besides his several other interesting work includes The Art of India, Sculpture and Mural Painting in 2 volumes, Buddhism, the Path of Compassion on Buddhist Heritage of the World, and the Hindu deities worshipped in Japan, etc. His photos of Ajanta painting, as well as those digitally restored paintings of the Badami cave, was also preserved in the Arctic World Archive. Sir is adjunct professor at the National Institute of Advanced Studies, IIS Bangalore, and most importantly, being a very humble person, despite being having such a phenomenal scholarship and work. With this thing, I would like to thank you, sir, for taking out your time and giving us this pleasure of watching your documentaries and having pleasure of interacting with you. Now, before we begin our session, I would like to just briefly give an introduction about the session. We'll be presenting a documentary which will be covering the temples of Western India with some portion on Shravanabelagola. Jains have left a phenomenal architectural heritage throughout the subcontinent, but particularly in Western India, uh, and Western India and in Deccan, we have masterpieces and like Shravanabelagola, like the temples of Mount Abu, etc. And we'll be covering some of these temples. Now, I'll not waste further time and would request Soumya to play the documentary. And if sir gives
I'll,
permission.
I'll speak first. Then
Sure,
we'll
sir.
take it
Sure,
on.
sir. It's our pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you. Please
Thank you.
continue.
Thank you very much, Saurabh, and the others in the team of ancient Jainism. It is because of your warm interest that I have been locating and taking out my films which cover Jain heritage to show to your audiences. In fact, it is quite remarkable that despite the Jain community today being less than half of 1% of India's population, the historic contribution of the Jains in philosophy and in art has actually been enormous. So it is a pleasure for me to last month and today again be presenting a few aspects of Jain heritage. As was discussed last month, in the sphere of paintings, the contribution of the Jains has been absolutely remarkable. As a matter of fact, the 8th century gurus of the Jain caves of Tirthankaras are surely the most tender and gentle expression in the art of humankind. Moving forward from that, by the 9th century at Ellora, in Jain paintings, we find the beginning of the medieval idiom in Indian paintings, an idiom which develops further. And in fact, the Jain contribution to the further development of painting in India is remarkable. The miniature painting schools which follow in Rajasthan and other places and subsequently, in fact, have deep roots in the medieval tradition of painting, started with Jain paintings and continued in Jain paintings in the manuscripts. So the Jain contribution to Indian painting is, of course, very important, most important contribution in the medieval and later periods. Now, as so many are not aware, the Jains have pilgrimage sites. The pilgrimage site of Palitana is a remarkable place. I've been there twice, and each time it has imprinted itself upon my memory. You begin in the hot plains and you start climbing up. You climb up more than 3,500 steps, and at a height of about 7,000 feet altitude, there is a remarkable and enchanted place. It is like a city of temples. And what is most important is the number of pilgrims that continue to come there. Pilgrims who dedicatedly walk barefoot up the steps. And there is a dedication which the Jains continue to show in religious worship, which is remarkable. In fact, there is, in fact, the way that the philosophy is also maintained intact by the Jain community is something that needs to be looked at. So on the whole, I would say that the Jain contribution to our heritage is something which needs to be studied again and again. And at this point, I will request that the film may be run, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Soumya, can you play the video?
Western India has long had extensive trade with the Middle East, across the Arabian Sea, and even with far-away Europe. Several Roman writers mention the trade with India. Pliny the Elder writes in 77 BC that Roman coffers were being emptied for buying too many fine textiles from India. There are several BC and early AD period inscriptions in Buddhist caves in Maharashtra which record the donations of sculptures by Greek devotees. The art of Rajasthan and Gujarat in Western India over the ages reflects the cosmopolitan heritage of this region. The sculptures of the 6th century, found at Shamalaji in Gujarat, display a rich synthesis of styles. The languid and graceful postures continue the tradition established in the earlier Gupta period. The treatment of the heavy folds of drapery recalls the art of Gandhara in the northwest of the subcontinent. The remains of the 6th century temple at Gop in Saurashtra recall the high standards of artistic achievement of Gujarat. Across the deserts of Rajasthan were several trade routes which connected the Indian subcontinent with the Middle East. The prosperity of Rajasthan and its flowering culture are seen in the remains of the temples. On the plinth of the Harsat Mata temple in the village of Abaneri near Jaipur are fine sculptures of the 8th century. The graceful figures, gentle expressions, and the delicacy of carving are remarkable. Sixteen temples of the 8th and 9th century stand at Ossian, which would have been a flourishing city in its time. A Surya temple here of the 8th century displays pan-Indian traditions. There is a magnificent depiction of Mahishasur-mardani, Durga killing the demon buffalo. There is a sense of movement and activity in the figures of this period, which is a departure from the repose and stillness of the Gupta period tradition. A number of 8th century temples here are dedicated to Harihara, who represents a synthesis of Vishnu and Shiva. The fine carvings convey the liveliness and animation of the art of this period. There is a Jaina temple made originally in the 8th century at Ossian. There are exquisite sculptures here. In Indic philosophy, the beauty and grace of the art is of fundamental importance. It is to awaken the grace which is within us and to keep us reminded of the divinity which underlies all of creation. The Mata temple made high on a hill at Ossian is of the 8th century. The sculptures from its earliest periods have a lilting grace which transports us. As in the art of this period everywhere, from Jaina reliefs at Kalugumalai in Tamil Nadu to the Hindu temples of Orissa, here too we meet many representations of rearing leogryphs. These fearless creatures remind us of the courage within us, with which we must face the obstacles on our path towards knowledge. In the 10th century, the Rajput clan of the Solankis came to power in the Gujarat region. Close to their capital at Patan are a number of temples which were probably made in the late 10th century. The Nilakantha Mahadeva temple at Sunak is a fine example of the styles which were developing in that period. Though this is a small structure, it is lavishly sculpted both on the inside and outside. It reminds us of the profusely sculpted temples of this period at Khajuraho. The temple is made in the North Indian style with a shikhara over the shrine. This resembles the clustered peaks of a mountain. While the final knowledge is to be encountered in the Garbhagriha within, the walls of the temple provide manifestations of the truth in many forms. All that there is in the world around us is presented on the temple walls. This is to remind us that it is all but a manifestation of the divine. The style of the Solanki temples is seen at its grandest in the temple to Surya, the sun, at Modhera. The temple is of the early 11th century and was made by King Bhima I. In front of it, to the east, is a large tank with flights of steps leading down. Small shrines are made at regular intervals on the descent, creating a marvelous design. Water tanks are often made next to a temple, and this is the grandest example in the subcontinent. A sculpted torana or gateway is made above the tank at the entrance to the temple complex. The temple is one of the most profusely carved seen anywhere. It is believed that the detailed sculptures of the temples of Gujarat reflect the exquisite wood carving traditions for which the region is well known. Indeed, one can scarcely find an inch of wall surface which has not been transformed by the sculptor's chisel. Unfortunately, the stone has been considerably weathered and damaged over the years. However, the original beauty of the sculpture is still apparent. The profusion of sculpture here reflects pan-Indian traditions at this time. A grand torana, or gateway of a temple of the early 12th century, survives at Bhavnagar, not far from Patan. Here too, the detailed and fine work is reminiscent of carvings on wood, which is much easier to work upon. A recently excavated site at Umta, near Patan, shows what would have been a large and impressive temple complex. The style of the sculptures here shows that it may have been built between the 11th and 13th centuries during the rule of the Solankes. Intricately carved door frames show the preference that the Jainas have for white marble. Along with the images of deities and Tirthankaras, one sees here the figures of beautiful maidens or Nayikas who communicate the gentleness and lilting grace of the sculptures of this period. While the king made the temple to the sun, his wife, Udaymati, made a marvelous stepwell dedicated to Vishnu at Patan. As we walk down the steps to the water, on either side is a world of sculpted forms. It is a journey similar to the parikrama or circumambulation of the temple. The walls and pillars present the world of forms around us. We see these here in their true context as a manifestation of the divine who lies at the end of our journey through the stepwell. Many images of Nayikas or beautiful women flank the deities made in the niches. They are shown in similar postures and activities to those seen at Khajuraho and later at Konarak. We see Nayikas playing with a ball, wearing an anklet, and in so many other acts. Here the faces are gentle. They are not shown as impersonal forms, but are infused with an inward look and a deep warmth. Our response to the beauty and grace of the figures awakens the finest within us and prepares us in our journey. At the deep end of the well, far from the noise and clamour of the material world, we face Vishnu. He rests on the serpent Shesha, dreaming the world into existence. The image represents a fine philosophic concept. Shesha means that which remains. The serpent is also called Ananta or endless. The style of the sculptures continues the infinite gentleness of the ancient art. It also displays the angularity and sharp features which mark the figures of the medieval tradition in India. We see this in the Buddhist art of Nalanda in eastern India, reflecting the vigor of intellectual developments. In western India, the medieval idiom is developed further in the coming centuries in a profusion of Jaina manuscript paintings. Among the communities which prospered in western India were the Jainas. They did not believe in warfare or any kind of violence. They mainly engaged in peaceful trade. The trade routes that crossed Gujarat and Rajasthan made it a region where the Jainas flourished. In Indic beliefs, it is most important to take time off from one's worldly attachments to seek peace of mind and the stillness within. Over the centuries, the Jainas made many places of pilgrimage, which were located far from the cares of the mundane world. As in other Indian faiths, the basis of Jainism is ahimsa, or non-violence, and tapa, or meditation. In the Jaina faith, the principle of non-violence has no limits. They even decry forceful arguments as a form of violence. The belief is in the passage through life in a detached manner. We live in a world of illusory forms, and we must not be attached to them. Duties must be performed in the world, yet with the spirit of a distant observer, with detachment. It is this aloofness which keeps us steady in our journey through the world. Jaina art carries its philosophic beliefs faithfully and presents one of the most abstracted schools of Indian art. The simplicity and uniformity of the figures may not always invite admiration of the artist's work. However, it does convey the inner peace and dignity of the Tirthankaras, as well as conveying their strength. Art historian Heinrich Zimmer wrote of the colossal Bahubali sculpture at Shravanabelagola. The majestic aloofness of the perfected, balanced, absolutely self-contained figure of the saint becomes emphasized in its triumphant isolation. There is a purity of philosophic belief maintained by the Jainas. They pay homage to the Tirthankaras, those who have made the great crossing and conquered the fear of death. Yet, they do not do so because of any hope that the great being might assist a worshipper. They are beyond the reach of prayer, and there is no possibility of their help. They are beyond all actions and absolutely at peace. While King Bhima I built the temple to the sun and Queen Udaimati made the stepwell dedicated to Vishnu, the king's minister Vimala constructed a marble temple at Mount Abu. He built this to honor Adinatha, the first Jaina saint. This marvelous tradition of the coexistence of all faiths has been seen since the earliest stupas and temples in the subcontinent. Several Jaina temples were made here in succeeding centuries. We see the tradition of temples made of white marble continued at the Chaumukha temple at Ranakpur in present-day Rajasthan. The temple is nestled amidst low hill ranges far from any town. It was made in 1439 AD, and, in an unusual instance, the architect's name Deepaka is inscribed on a pillar here. There are 80 domes covering the structure, which are supported by 400 pillars. These are elaborately carved, and it is said that no two columns are alike. There is abundant light coming through gaps between the canopies and from courtyards. This highlights the fine carvings and the effect of the spacious interior. The white marble all around creates the appearance of a pure land. Figures seen here present the fully developed style of Jaina sculpture. The forms of the body are abstracted to almost pure geometric shapes. The surfaces of the body are smooth, presenting a visual equivalent of the spiritual perfection of the Tirthankara. Unlike the icons, the subsidiary figures are animated. Female musicians twist and turn in space. The quality of abstraction remains. The limbs have a rod-like appearance, and there is an angular geometric quality to the poses. Every ceiling, known as a vitana or canopy of the heavens, is unique and exquisitely carved. There is a profusion of foliate and geometric motifs and figures. The work is so intricate that it has often led to the suggestion that the sculptors were paid according to how much stone they removed. Indeed, the work is deeply undercut and finely detailed. One of the greatest expressions of the Jaina faith is the temple city of Palitana on Shatrunjaya Hill, 35 kilometers from Bhavnagar in Gujarat. The Adinatha temple here was first built in 960 AD and rebuilt in the year 1530. This sacred space, created on two peaks with a valley in between, displays the continuing spirit of devotion. There are more than 500 temples here, big and small, and about 7,000 images in worship. It is an enchanted world where it is the spirit within which is glorified. Jainas seek here a realm of detachment from their daily concerns and material desires.
My grateful thanks to Doordarshan, who, in the true spirit of a public broadcaster, sponsored the making of my deeply researched films such as this one. In a world where the commercial interest is usually paramount and TV channels are constantly looking for entertaining series that will bring them more TRP, it has been remarkable of Doordarshan in its true spirit to sponsor the making of my many films on the culture, deeply researched films on the culture of India to bring this knowledge to the people. My many thanks also to Sujata Chatterjee, who helps me in all that I do who makes my work possible. And as you saw here, it is quite remarkable the way that so much was created in ancient and medieval times, which was all dedicated towards finding the path, taking the steps on the path towards knowledge. Besides the commercial activity of life, which of course carried on, there was more effort, in fact, spent on the search for the truth. Something quite remarkable. And the contribution of the Jain community has been enormous. As also mentioned in the film, the Jain community also preserved its philosophic preciseness and rigor. They worship the Tirthankaras, but they do not pray to them expecting their help, because the Tirthankars are beyond it all. They're beyond the happenings of the world. They cannot turn back and give help to the devotee. So the great example of the Tirthankar is appreciated and worshipped and adored, but it is for each person himself to lose his attachments to the material world, to lose his attachment to the illusions which are around, and find that spirit of detachment in his journey through life. Something quite remarkable. I think this is something which should be stressed more and more of the Jain tradition, and should in fact be shared with all other Indians more often. And I would be happy to answer a few questions. I happen to be suffering from a bad cold today, but I would be able to handle a few questions at least. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. The house is open to question, and until until other people type the questions, sir, I have one or two questions. I'm sure we all have this rasanubhav, or the pleasure of watching, of having this, enjoying the aesthetics of each and every frame of the art that was part of the documentary, as well as listening to the the passion with which, and the pleasure, and why in the way you were explaining the each aspect in your further comments on that. Sir, I have two questions which might be bit related. We all had the pleasure, we all have enjoyed these aesthetics. And sir, my first question is, because you have documented Shravanabelagola, you have documented Mount Abu and Ranakpur temple. What was your own aesthetic pleasure of recording them? The way you have enjoyed recording these temple and its beauty. And this is my first question. I'm curious to know about your own experience. And sir, my second question is about like when we look at the Mount Abu, say the Dilwara temples of the Mount Abu, right? So each and every aspect is so intricate, each and every aspect is so beautiful. So while the main image in the Garbhagriha is the spiritual center of the temple, but those intricacies attract our aesthetic experience. But then how do you think those intricate artwork throughout each and every bits and corners of the temple also ignites our spiritual passion, apart from igniting our aesthetic pleasure?
Yes. Thank you. This is the remarkable thing about Indian philosophy. It does not try to sweep anything under the carpet. It does not try to deny the existence of the world around us, the way that we perceive it. In fact, it presents us the world that is around us to clearly make us see it when we are deciding to leave it behind. So there is no denial of the pleasures of life as they come before us. There is no denial of the beauty of form, of all the exquisite fruits of the earth. So therefore, they are all seen with great clarity, and they are seen with great clarity in the temple. And then we decide to leave them behind as we proceed towards the Garbhagriha in our search for that which is true and lasting, that which is true. So this is the remarkable journey of Indian philosophy, and it is expressed most beautifully in the Jain temples. In fact, the amount of work which has gone into the exquisite carvings makes this beauty come alive so much. But I cannot only I can only reiterate that it is a remarkable tradition where the exquisite beauty of the world is constantly with us, and we make the choice each time of leaving it behind. Thank you. And as for my personal responses, what does one say? Visit to Shravanabelagola is something quite remarkable. That splendid sculpture, the Bahubali, the Gomateshwara, standing in isolation, tall and towering, and presenting the majesty of the spirit, presenting something which is far beyond all the concerns of the world around us. It's absolutely majestic. And I would say that at the Jain sites, what impresses me most of all is the completeness of the meditative experience, where there is a wholeheartedness in the presentation of the art and the truth which is sought. Thank you.
So your comments remind me of this book I read a few years back. The title it was on Jain art, Jain philosophy, and the title was, and this Jain philosophy and narrative, and the title was Colors of Desires on the Canvas of Restraint. And I think this was this I could recall while listening to your comments. So there is one question by Soumya, and she asks, such detailed aesthetics is visible in this architecture. How were they planning this? Was it deliberate and planned, or were they dependent on artists as they went ahead?
First of all, one must remember that the art and the artists are very much part of the philosophic tradition. In the Indian experience, the purpose of art itself is to help us in the path towards knowledge. So that is the stated purpose of the art. So the philosophy and the art are completely intermingled, and yes, it is completely planned. It is a world of grace and beauty which is created with planning and with dedication and with perfection, so as to make sure that we do not miss it out, so that when we leave it behind, we are indeed making a conscious decision that we have seen it all. This is what is available to me in the world, but I'm leaving it behind. I'm going for that which is beyond this, that which is true, that which will last. Thank you.
So beautiful, so beautiful. So there is one more question on the representation of women in the Jain art of this region.
Yes. Oh, this is a general question on the representation of women. Or?
In the of Jain art specifically, Jain art and architecture.
Right. The depiction of the beauty of the world includes the depiction of beautiful women. And you would notice that with all their activities which are shown, yet their faces are serene, their faces are peaceful. For all the color, all the grace, all the attractiveness of the world, all the fruitfulness of the world which is presented, that force of nature with which nature reproduces itself and propagates itself. Yet with all this which is presented, there is a peace. The faces are absolutely serene because there is something we are being drawn to which is beyond the vigor of the world, which is in fact the peace of the world, the peace beyond the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sir, there is one question that is there any specific architectural style which we can call, say of the Jain temple architecture in India? Is there any distinct style?
The style of the Indian temples is generally the same, and it is mainly the North Indian style which you see here. Let's try to keep it down to just a few more questions because unfortunately my cold is troubling me quite a bit. My apologies for that.
It's okay, sir. It's okay. It's perfectly fine. Sir, we are so grateful to you for giving your time and explaining explaining the intricacies, sharing your experience and your wisdom and something which I think we all enjoy the most is the way you explain everything. You are yourself experiencing those rasa, you are yourself enjoying each word, and that's make us enjoy each and every aspect of it. So I'm so grateful to you, sir, for taking out your time and allowing us to show this documentary and have the pleasure of hearing you. And we are also grateful to each and every person who has joined this session. I should specifically mention Dr. Shrikant Ganvir from Deccan College, Dr. Pavan Jain, a distinct scholar of Jain art, and all other scholars, students, and students, and every person who has joined this session. We'll continue to organize many such lectures. I'll be sharing the link of our page, the WhatsApp group, the Instagram page, and other handles, YouTube channel in the chat box, and you should follow them. And I will request to follow them. And with this, I thank everyone for joining this session. Sir, thank you so much. It's indeed pleasure to listen to you.
Thank you
मैं
very
2
much,
मिनट लेना
Saurabh. It is
Yes,
it's
ma'am. Yes,
very,
ma'am.
very kind
हेलो
and very
मैं
generous
2
of
मिनट
you.
लेना चाहती हूँ
Yes.
हेलो
Yes, ma'am. हाँ, मैम, कहिए.
नमस्कार सर, मैं पुष्पा पांड्या हूँ। मैं फाइन आर्ट्स में एमए किया, गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट हूँ। और मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई, अभी एसबीआई के द्वारा निकाली गई आपकी द इंडियन आर्ट में मैंने 2 कॉफी टेबल बुक देखी आरबीआई के बैंगलोर ऑफिस में। तो बहुत खुशी हुई कि वहाँ पे हेलीवेट का शांतिनाथ भगवान का फोटो भी मैंने देखा, और श्रवण बेलगोला का बाहुबली भगवान के बारे में भी वहाँ पे देखा। तो उसमें उन दोनों बुक्स में तो अच्छा लगा। मैं पूरा पढ़ तो नहीं पाई और मुझे बुक मंगवानी पड़ेगी, पर मुझे बुक दोनों बहुत अच्छी लगी। तो आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, ये कौन सी किताब, ये आपने बोला क्या टाइटल था?
द इंडियन आर्ट।
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा।
एसबीआई
The Art of India.
हाँ जी,
SBI.
एसबीआई के साथ ने निकाला है उसको। 2 वॉल्यूम है उसके।
Right.
दोनों बहुत खूबसूरत है।
I'm so glad. मुझे
अभी 1 वीक पहले
कभी
मुझे देखने का मौका मिला।
जी, कभी कभी मुझे पता ही नहीं चलता। थोड़ी बहुत किताबें हैं। I'm very happy to hear about this. Thank you so much. Thank you. The Art of India तो एक काफी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव किताब है। उसमें ईस्ट टू वेस्ट, नॉर्थ टू साउथ बहुत कवरेज है। I'm sure you will enjoy it. Thank you.
सारे गुप्ता पीरियड और सारे हिस्ट्री के साथ आपने उनके बारे में लिखा है, और पूरा पढ़ तो नहीं पाई मैं, जल्दी में, मतलब उतने ही टाइम को बस देख पाई थी दोनों के फोटोग्राफ्स। आरबीआई के ऑफिस में देखा था मैंने उसको।
Right, right, right.
और
Thank
अभी मुझे आपको सुनने का मौका मिला तो बहुत अच्छा लगा।
you. I'm so glad. Thank you. Very nice.
सर सच
थैंक
में
यू।
सबके लिए ये प्लेजर। आई एम श्योर जितने लोगों ने ज्वाइन किया है कभी ना कभी आपकी डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज देखी होंगी, कभी आपके लेक्चर्स सुने होंगे, या इवन जो स्कूल के बच्चे भी होते थे जब हम लोग ने, तब ने भी आपकी मूवीज डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज देखी होती है। So for everyone from this fraternity, all those art composers, all those fan of Indian art, you are one of our, say, kind of a superhero kind of a figure, and we all are big fan of your work.
No, no. Thank you very much, Saurabh. And owing to people like you, this work is able to reach so many students, and I'm grateful to you for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you.